Beer. Beer is good. That's the episode. See you later. Make sure to, make sure to follow us on Instagram at AwedDrunkPod and all those other things. Yeah. See you later. Nah, we're just playing. Roll that intro. It's the Odd Drunk Podcast, a very strange podcast, the drunkest show in the world. It's Jackson and Colton talking out of their ass. We don't care as long as drinks are poured. Sometimes we have our friends here. We will talk about anything. We don't care as long as we have beer. And if you let that whiskey ring. The Odd Drunk Podcast. Soundboard would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That awkward silence of like, it's there. We know it's there. Anyways, but it was there for you. You don't even know. It doesn't even matter. Hey, I could be like Nick Mason and play the theme from my phone by looking up the YouTube of the theme. Literally. And there was a time he didn't have his phone, and they just didn't have the theme. Or I think they couldn't play it live, so the editor had to put it in post. But he put the Defenders of the Earth theme instead.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. They recently, the Weekly Planet recently changed their intro for the new year because it used to be Red Hot Comic Book News shooting up your butthole.
Yeah.
Now it's the same theme, but when it gets to that part, it plays Defenders of the Earth. And on their first episode back, they were like, that's great. We already have an impenetrable joke for new listeners that no one will get. Anyways, that's enough talking about that successful podcast.
Let's talk about
our podcast.
Yeah.
Welcome back. This is
slightly less successful podcast.
Yeah, and slightly less Australian.
Yeah.
Significantly
We are
less
about
Australian.
as Australian as we are successful.
Yeah, if you go by that metric.
We'll leave that up to interpretation.
But anyways, yeah, we're back for the new year.
Yep.
And
hope you all had a good break from us.
Yeah, and we're done with our break, even though we're done with our break. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't feel like a break.
That's all we're gonna say. Don't want to spoil anything for the future, our near future.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, we're back this year, and we're gonna talk all about beer. But before we get to our main topic, and before we get to what we're drinking, because it's relevant. It's relevant
to the episode for once.
If you're a new or old listener, going by the title of our podcast, you could presume that it's relevant to the topic.
Yeah,
which is beer.
And we attempt to make our drinking relevant, but longtime listeners will know that occasionally we just drink what we had in our liquor cabinet at the time because we're broke.
And then when we're not broke, we'll get something fancy, and then we'll be broke again from getting too many fancy drinks.
That is often the reason
the cycle
for my being broke is I spent it on a nice bottle of whiskey or something like that.
But anyways, before we actually get into the topic, and maybe this can be a new segment of the show, actually, I was thinking, because we've done the Odd Drunk News Network episodes.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how about we each bring one bit of news if we want?
Yeah.
Just bring in some news about anything.
I like this idea. I like
pop culture,
whatever. I like segments in general.
So we can bring in some news before we actually start on the topic. That way it won't count as a tangent point. We'll get to that later. I'll explain that later. Don't worry about it. But I do have some news. And it just broke out from James Gunn himself. The new DC slate.
Ooh, cool.
The new movies that they have planned and probably will cancel.
Is it psych we actually are bringing back Henry Cavill?
That'd be great.
That would be...
April Fools, early April Fools. He's back.
January Fools.
But no, James Gunn stated that Henry Cavill wasn't fired. He just wasn't hired.
He's like, there was a misunderstanding. The cameo in Black Adam was not us hiring him back.
Yeah. And The Rock isn't hired back, apparently, because that movie didn't do well. Even though I liked it.
That's too bad. I like The Rock. I think
Did you see Black Adam?
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, I would have really got a kick out of it if you're like, I didn't see it, though.
Yeah.
But no, it's fun, right?
Yeah, I finally
it's not like
watched it.
groundbreaking, but it's just a fun superhero movie.
And you were right. Pierce Brosnan was awesome.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan is awesome
Yeah.
in anything, even the bad James Bond
Even
movies.
the bad James Bond movies, he's still a good James Bond.
Yeah. Anyways, here's the new slate. So first, and I think there's going to be some shows between this, but this is just official order, I guess. Here's the first one. Superman Legacy, written by James Gunn, and it will release July 11th, 2025.
Okay.
So a little ways off. And yeah, Henry Cavill's not coming back, and it's not an origin story, which that's good to hear.
That's probably, yeah.
But it kind of feels like it's going to be basically an origin story because the synopsis so far, it's going to be Superman balancing his life as a Kryptonian and as a human, and he's going to have an existential crisis.
Superman, I like how his origin story plays into his character, but his origin story is not very exciting, I think.
Oh, it can be exciting if you blow up.
If you get Russell Crowe in there and
yeah,
do
get
a whole
Russell
action
do a big
sequence.
action scene with Russell Crowe, or you get very famous actor that I'm just not remembering at the moment. Was in Apocalypse Now. He was the guy at the end, the bald guy.
Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
Jesus. We both almost forgot. Anyway,
Well, you said Apocalypse Now, and I'm like,
Martin.
I was going to say Martin Sheen because
Yeah.
unaired episode that's been seemingly an unintentional running joke.
Yeah, but that no one would understand that, and they shouldn't understand that.
Yeah, you guys want to
joke.
get that.
You want to get it, yeah.
We've not aired that stuff.
But yeah,
yet.
just get Marlon Brando and kill him, and then you have his holograms, and then he has to make all those scenes reluctantly.
Yeah.
But anyways, Superman Legacy.
Love and hate Marlon Brando.
Then we have one that I'm sure you DC fanboys will know about, but I really don't know about. I've heard of them, but The Authority. It's a superhero team.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
It's a group of 7 heroes with very high concept superpowers. One is physically bonded to cities, drawing a strength from them.
What the?
So weird, wacky powers.
Is this just James Gunn being like, I made Guardians of the Galaxy cool. I'm gonna take I'm gonna take a really obscure DC team and make them cool.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. He made the Suicide Squad cool.
Yeah, that was pretty.
He got
fun,
a bunch
yeah.
of. He got like Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2.
Yeah,
So weird characters. He's good with weird characters.
I love Polka Dot Man.
Then we have The Brave and the Bold, which is based off the Silver Age DC Comics. Or no, it's the name is only based off the title, but it's going to be about Batman and Robin, but it's going to be Damian Wayne, so a father and son story.
Okay, the lamest Robin.
Well, he's the one that like kills people,
Yeah, he's also just a brat.
but he's a brat. Yeah,
yeah, he's not like kills people, but in a cool way, like Jason Todd.
No.
Nightwing's the best Robin.
Dick Grayson.
Dick Grayson. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Brave and the Bold, and this is going to be a new Batman actor and everything. This is not connected to the Batman. That's considered an Elseworld story now.
Okay, that's cool.
Then we have Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and basically says presents a Supergirl viewers are not used to seeing. Edgy Supergirl.
I don't like that idea, but we'll see.
Well, because Superman, think about it, he was sent back he was sent to Earth as a baby and then adopted by the Kents and lived a relatively nice, modest life and learned about being good and Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
You know. But and when Kevin Costner had to save the dog, even though he could. That's a whole thing.
He's like, no, people.
And when Kevin Costner told him not to save a bus full of drowning children,
it's not time.
It's not time. Yeah, yeah. But anyways, we'll see how that goes. I mean, it's cool they're doing a Supergirl movie. I don't think.
I hope they don't take it so edgy that it's like depressing though.
No, yeah.
That's what I mean by like I don't like that idea. Is not that you can't do it a little edgy, but like Supergirl's a pretty hopeful character. And I think she.
Yeah, I mean, even with all her trauma compared to Superman, but she's gonna be, like teen angst.
Okay.
That's what I assume.
Little teen angst.
Then we have Swamp Thing.
Ooh.
And they did the short-lived show that got canceled because that's what Warner Brothers likes to do with their properties. They get something that people like, and then they cancel it.
Yep, because they're like, this isn't going to make money.
Yeah. And then they'll do something for years that sucks.
Yeah.
Or progressively gets worse. I'm not going to shout out any shows, though. I don't want to get attacked by you DC fans. Then we have some new DC shows. Creature Commandos.
This is going to be like Paw Patrol, but like gritty.
I'm going to start drinking, by the way. I'm sober.
Oh, yeah. I'm a beer and a half in already. So we're going to get like a Christopher Nolan directed Paw Patrol movie.
It's Amanda Waller's going to form a team of monstrous prisoners. Maybe Swamp Thing will be in it. And whatever.
Okay, so like Paw Patrol, but Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Paw Patrol with guns and rude dudes.
Just a gun.
A single gun. Yeah.
A Glock.
And then we're going to have Waller. A show dedicated to Amanda Waller with Viola Davis reprising her role.
Okay.
So Gunn is going to be keeping some of the cast, mostly the ones he's worked with, basically.
Okay, yeah.
Fair enough.
Fair, yeah.
I mean, a Waller show, I didn't think Peacemaker was going to be anything, and I ended up really liking that.
Yeah.
And I like Amanda Waller, but I don't know if she can lead her own show, but we'll see. Then Booster Gold is getting a show. And you know Booster Gold?
Yeah.
Yeah, time traveler who he's like a loser, but then he just brings back future technology back in time, and he's like, I'm a superhero now.
He's like a lame King the Conqueror.
Yeah, he's like King the Conqueror, but lame.
Yeah.
Lame the Conqueror.
Yeah, not evil.
No
real like ambition at all.
No, he just wants to be liked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we have Lanterns, which is a Green Lantern show.
Okay.
Which is supposed to be an enormous TV event series focused on unraveling a dark mystery that's going to influence the rest of the DCU movie universe, or whatever they're calling it now. It's not the DCEU anymore.
I would really like to see a good Green Lantern live adaptation.
Honestly, just do Jonathan Stewart. Do him. He's way cooler than Hal Jordan.
He's way cooler.
And
the only reason I like Hal Jordan is because Nathan Fillion plays him in a lot of the animated things.
Just get Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know he's aged up a little bit, but
yeah, no, I think most DC fans
or get like, Chris Pine. I've seen some fan casting of Chris Pine to be Hal Jordan.
Yeah, but I think you're right. Jon Stewart would be the best.
Well, they've never done him in live action that I know of.
They were going to do him in the Zack Snyder.
Oh, yeah.
He was planned for that, but they didn't actually do it.
And then we're going to have Paradise Lost, set in Themyscira, and it's going to be like Themyscira like a long time ago. Like,
I thought it was just going to be like an adaptation of the book Paradise Lost.
It's going to be early.
Takes place in the DC universe.
That'd be great. It's going to be an early Wonder Woman story.
That sounds cool. I hope they bring back Gal Gadot. She's cool.
I know. I hope they keep her. And then I also heard, so as far as the next couple DC movies coming out, we're still going to get Shazam 2, obviously, that's coming out in March. That'd be really funny.
I'm excited for that.
Cancel it.
Yeah, it's done filming and everything.
Even though they did that with Batgirl.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
It was finished.
That's
and then they just canceled it as a tax write-off.
Yeah, essentially.
But from what I've heard, the other main head of DC, Peter Safran, said it was unreleasable. He said it was really bad. But I don't know what to believe.
Maybe that's an excuse.
I don't trust their judgment.
Have you ever seen The Producers? The musical?
No.
It's a Broadway musical, but they made a movie with Matthew Broderick. And it's the idea is that these Broadway producers and an accountant figure out that they can make more money from a flop than they can from a success because of like tax stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And then it ends up being like a huge success on accident.
Uh-oh.
And then they get caught at the end.
That's great.
So is that what Warner Brothers is doing with Batgirl?
Well, they canceled it altogether. They're not even giving it a chance. And Michael Keaton was in it as like it was gonna be in that universe, I think. And the Burton, I don't know. Yeah, I think we kind of. And Brendan Fraser was gonna be Firefly. So yeah, kind of missed out, I think.
So Brendan Fraser is going to be in the DC universe then again, multiple times.
I don't want Brendan Fraser to be in a bad movie after his new found success.
He's in Doom Squad.
Yeah, Doom Patrol. Yeah,
Doom Patrol. Yeah,
he's in it a bit, like in flashbacks, right?
He's Mr. Robot.
He does the voice of
the robot guy.
And I heard the whale's good, but it looks really sad, and I'm not really in the mood for that.
Yeah, that is one of those movies where I'm like, I'm gonna watch it someday, but I have to really like pump myself up for it.
Yeah, but I heard he's great in it. So yeah, we're gonna get Shazam 2, then The Flash. That resets the universe
because they're doing a Flashpoint.
With Flashpoint, yes, and that's gonna explain why we're getting new casts. And then we're gonna get Aquaman 2.
Okay.
That's gonna be, and they're keeping Jason Momoa, even though I thought he was gonna be Lobo now. But yeah, I'm kind of confused. I'm kind of Aquaman 2 is supposed to lead into the new Superman movie.
Okay, I'm surprised they're keeping Jason Momoa, but I'm happy about it because he's cool.
Oh, and we're getting a Blue Beetle movie that has nothing to do with anything.
Oh, okay.
I think it's before the universe reset.
I mean, I like that DC
might be canceled.
They still seem to be open to the idea of doing movies that just are not related to anything else.
And then we have some movies in the Elseworlds umbrella. Obviously, the Batman 2 that was announced is officially coming out October 2025.
Rad.
And we're going to get the Penguin series this year with Colin Farrell.
Oh, I forgot they were doing that.
That's going to lead straight in to the Batman 2, those events.
Okay.
We're getting the Joker, 2 Jokers running about the movie. They have a gun.
I'm sorry. I just
with Lady Gaga.
I just think it's really pointless to do a second Joker movie.
It felt good as just a standalone Elseworld story.
I liked that movie,
but it's like, let's do another Joker movie with no Batman.
Yeah, it's
just I don't know. It's just
maybe it'll be really good too.
I'm sure.
I don't know.
Well, I also heard it might be a musical.
I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
It's just going to be a musical now.
If they committed to that bit.
Because I think it's mostly going to be from Harley Quinn's perspective.
Oh, okay.
Because it's going to be...
That could be cool. I mean, if they commit to doing like just a full-blown musical, I'll be on board. I'll be like, okay, I'm down for this. It's weird, but...
Clown with a gun,
I'll
musical.
I'll give it a shot. Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm excited for those clowns with guns. Anyway, and then
waiting for them to do that Mr. Freeze movie.
That's everything we know so far. Even though, and guys notice, I was so pissed off about Henry Cavill not reprising as Superman, not being hired, as James Gunn puts it. I think the Superman movie might be the one I'm most interested in.
Yeah, I want to see who they cast.
Can we get a good Superman movie?
Yeah. It's been a while. Man of Steel was okay.
Mid. There's things I like about it. I mean, obviously Henry Cavill was great.
I actually think Superman Returns is a little underrated.
Oh,
it's still not great though.
Boring though. It's so boring.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I mean,
really, I don't think there's been a really good Superman movie
since like 2.
Yeah, I was about to say 2.
Richard Donner's Superman 2, not the theatrical cut. Richard Donner's Superman 2.
Yeah.
Anyways, that is my one bit of news. Sorry, that took a little long. But, do you have any news?
No.
Okay, well, let's get into it.
I didn't know we were doing a news segment, so I did not.
You didn't get the memo?
I didn't come with any news.
I sent it to you on our Google Doc.
Oh,
yeah.
I forgot that we had.
We should have one. We should have one for ideas and stuff. That would actually be pretty smart.
Let's
do that. Well, let's do a Google Doc. Yeah, we're 100 and what? 15, 7. We're over 100 episodes in. We still haven't done that. So there we go. We're always learning. Anyways, I am. Wait, I don't want to ruin it.
I'm gonna stick this.
Stick it right there,
so I can remember to. Also, I'm gonna stick that up there.
A random code.
It's a login code.
Okay.
I didn't want to forget.
Looks like a bank login or something.
No.
I don't know.
It's for...
Here, I'm going to say the code live.
Yeah. Well, it's not a login code. It's a code for if I forget my login.
Oh, okay.
I can use that code.
So anybody trying to log in to Colton's account, I don't know which one it's for. Yeah. Here's the code. I'm not going to do that. That'd be messed up. I mean, I could say it and then force you to listen to this point and bleep it.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do that to you. Anyways, what are you drinking, Colton? Or you have already... Yeah, he's drinking beer.
Just finished my second one.
He did. Yeah.
I'm drinking... I got a couple of things here. I'm drinking all the way imported from the Czech Republic. Pilsner Urquell.
Yeah, and that one's pretty special, I hear.
I mean, it's a really common beer. It's not
but
it's
history.
I bought this for a reason, not just because we sell this at the store I work at. An old professor of mine comes in and buys it by the case.
Nice,
like 2 cases at a time type of thing. It's all she drinks.
So, she?
So I was like, not only is it relevant to this episode, but I was kind of like, well, if she buys it by the fucking case, maybe it's pretty good. I should try it. And it is pretty good. You're welcome to have one.
And what's the other reason, the cool reason you got it?
Because we're doing an episode about beer right now. And Pilsner Urquell has...
And it's a beer?
It is a beer, and its claim to fame is that it is the original Pilsner.
And when did this brewery begin?
Like the 1840s. And they claim on their website that they are still using the same recipe and techniques that they originally used.
Nice.
So I tried to find a historical beer.
The original Pilsner.
I've also got, I'm going to open one of these right now. Classic, we've had it before. Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a classic.
Classic, a little basic, but still tasty.
But it's...
this is also significant in a certain way. It is the, I want to say like the 9th, so I will. The 9th.
He's just making stuff up.
I'm trying to remember stuff. It's like something like the 9th biggest brewery in the United States, and it's the 3rd largest independently owned brewery.
Oh, that's cool.
And it started in like the 80s.
So Anheuser or Molson Coors has no stakes in them?
Nope, they are completely still independently owned.
Nice.
And they began like in the late 70s, early 80s. As far as the craft beer industry goes, they are pretty significant. So I didn't buy these for the episode. I just had some.
Yeah.
But
there you go.
It's good
and
stuff.
I didn't get a historical beer. I got something new for the podcast, though, and new for myself. From Silver Moon Brewing out of Bend, Oregon. Their Raspberry Porter.
I've had some stuff from Silver Moon, but I've not had that one. What do you think of it?
It's very tasty. It's smooth. It's not too heavy on the raspberry notes. It's like a chocolate. It's like a Ghirardelli raspberry-filled chocolate bar, dark chocolate bar or something.
Ooh,
And
does sound good.
here's what it says on the can, and I got some more information about Silver Moon. Silky and luxurious milk chocolate notes meet familiar and refreshing raspberry puree in this delicious year-round porter. With a smooth and light finish, it is very smooth, I'll say that. This beer will keep you going through all your night's adventures.
Sounds delicious.
And here's
I like a good porter. I went to Carver's Brewing, which is a brew pub here in Colorado.
Yes.
I went there last night and had a porter that they have a rotational. They're rotational beers. They have
good stuff.
They have a porter on tap right now, and it was very tasty.
And you can only get it at Carver Brewing.
Yeah, you have
pretty
to
much.
actually. Yeah, they don't distribute.
Yeah.
They're just a brew pub.
Yeah, so but they're really good.
Very good. I also met the founder the other day.
Oh, really?
He came into my store, and my coworker was like, by the way, this guy founded Carver's. I'm like, wow,
That's crazy.
you guys make good beer.
Yeah. I also want to give a shout out to another brewery, a local brewery that the biggest one, obviously, Ska Brewing. We've had it
Yeah, many times.
so many times I can't even count on this podcast, and they make a lot of good stuff. I like their Modus Mandarina. I like
my
their
favorite.
Decadent IPA, actually.
I like
If you're
the
willing to
Checkered
spend a little
Future
more.
IPA. That's
That one's good.
pretty good.
I mean, there's not too many of them that I dislike. I'll
I-
drink any of them.
All of their beers are good.
Yeah.
Many of them are, I think, very average.
And then
But there's a few that are standout. Modus
Yeah.
Mandarina is one of them. Decadent, it's a little pricier, but it is very good.
yes.
Checkered Future, Modus Operandi is really good.
Yeah. Really good stuff.
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to them since we're talking about beer and a little bit more on Silver Moon. So they're the third oldest brewery out of Bend, and they've been around since 2000. And
That's pretty good. 2000.
it is,
That's still in the earlier days of the craft brewing.
yeah,
It's shocking to me how in the history of beer in the United States how relatively recently this craft
it's
brewing
really blown up.
scene that is so
Yeah.
big now. It's like it started like in the 70s and it didn't get big until like the 2000s. Like I was reading about Sierra Nevada. They're not the earliest craft brewer in California, but they are by the mid 80s. Most of the other breweries that had started up had already closed down.
Oh, wow.
So they managed to get through this period of time where craft breweries were popping up and then going out of business.
And here I have a list of all of Silver Moon's products. Here's their year-round ones, so you can always find them. They have IPA. It's the IPA 97. They have the Mango Days. I almost got that one, but I was like, oh, that's summery. We'll wait for that. They have Simon Says Hazy IPA. And all the cans, I love the design of all their cans. Like,
Oh yeah,
like even this one here. It's kind of hard to see in this lighting, but
this is a nice can.
cool can
Not just
designs.
the label, but it's also just like the shape of the can. It has like
They
this
have a
cool
Mexican lager.
old school style to it.
And they have a lot of different rotating seasonal ones, and they have a beer that's called Fuck Cancer, which that's great. And
Yeah, I agree with that statement.
I believe the proceeds go to charity,
Oh wow,
cancer
that's cool.
research, but it's not been released yet. But that's their plan.
Nice.
And yeah, this is my first of Silver Moons, and I really like it. And these cans are actually a little bit unique.
Yeah,
They have like all the ridges, very kind of old school.
yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. Yeah, they're remind me of old Budweiser cans.
Yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah. Anyway, but if you haven't figured out by now, this episode is about beer. It's about the history of beer.
And just beer in general.
Just beer in general, our favorite beers. It's kind of a spiritual successor to our beer ranking episode.
Yeah, but it's not going to be 3 hours of us saying, that's okay.
Yeah, we briefly, and by briefly I mean for about 30 seconds at one point, talked about doing another ranking and immediately decided, nope.
Nah.
that-
Not only is that expensive, who wants to listen to that? But
Yeah.
if you do want to check out our official beer rankings, our
Yes.
one and only,
Well,
and I'm sure our opinions have changed.
Again, this was not planned.
And we rank them very arbitrarily.
Yeah.
On whether they come from a cool place or have a cool design.
The Sierra Nevada Pale Ale did appear in that beer rating.
It did, yeah. That's the only one.
I think it ranked about mid-tier.
Yeah. A lot of them did. We did have a score system and everything where we average out the points. Like, we did put our time into thinking about it.
Yeah.
So if you want to check that out, that was actually... Yeah, the New Year's beer ranking for 2021?
Yeah. New Year's 2021 was so a little over 2 years ago. That was the first episode that we recorded. That was the first episode we recorded in this room that we normally recorded.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
And I recall we didn't have the sound foam up.
No.
And we didn't have this nice equipment we had. And we had two plastic fold-out tables in here.
Oh yeah,
now you got your big old desk. With some dining room chairs set up, and just a lot of beers on the table.
Feel free to have one.
I definitely will.
And I'm gonna have one of yours.
Definitely.
Later. Anyways, how do you want to start this out? Talking about beer. Do you want to give us a little history lesson?
A little history lesson, yes. Professor Colton.
Yeah, maybe one day
on the job. Beer has been around for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Humans are well known. In fact, among the entire galaxy of species, when you mention humans, they go, "Oh, you mean those people on
beer
that
drinkers
planet that like beer a lot?"
Yeah.
That's how humans are known across the galaxy. So the first chemically confirmed is what I've if you look
it's when you
first confirmed beer that we've found is 5,000 years old.
Wow,
5,000 to 6,000 years old. It's the oldest one.
I mean, it's fermented wheat.
Yeah, sometimes
barley,
rice, and other grains are made. In South America, pre-colonial times, they used corn to make a very similar type of drink.
Ooh.
And you can still buy it in some places, but it's not common in the U.S. I don't remember what it's called. But the earliest beers are some of them in China, made of rice. Some of them in the mountains in Iran and Iraq, made of wheat. Going back to, the ancient Mesopotamians and the Sumerians, Gozer and all those.
Mm-hmm. we did a Ghostbusters commentary.
Go listen to it. Just go watch Ghostbusters again. This is your
do that. Yeah.
Your
weekly reminder.
Your weekly reminder to go watch.
Maybe that's a new segment.
But those are the first chemically confirmed beers. Like, we've actually found the archaeological evidence and found the beers. But we think that humans have been drinking beer or beer-like drinks since before we even settled down and started farming. Since we were still, it
was more likely one of our incentives to settle down and start farming.
So if you go to school, and you learn about the agricultural revolution and about how we settled down and started farming, they might tell you that the big reason we did that is to have a steady access to grain, food, and that
bread
makes sense, but it doesn't totally add up because anthropologists think that humans, before we settled down and started doing that, we had better diets and worked less hours every day. So it doesn't add up that we would settle down and start farming only for food. So there is a theory out there that one of the driving forces is because steady access to grain meant steady access to beer.
Yeah.
So
those carbs, beer and bread. But I would like to assume that it was the need for beer. I
really love this idea. I mean, throughout human civilization, it's been the exception of the Romans.
Well,
they're always the exception. Beer is considered civilized. You are civilized if you drink beer. And we think you go back to the oldest stories we have. The Gilgamesh. That type of stuff. Where in the tale of Gilgamesh, there's the wild man who is tamed and brought into society and made civilized. And the way they make him civilized is they make him eat bread and they make him drink beer. And then he passes out and he wakes up and he's civilized.
Man, what hangovers can do.
Yeah.
I didn't know they would make you civilized. But.
Yeah, but there's always been this beer is associated, and we think that the Sumerians and the Mesopotamians in these stories, this idea of making them the wild man civilized by drinking beer is a reflection of when humans settled down from being hunter-gatherers to building societies like through beer.
Oh, definitely. And people would toil all day so they would have a good wheat harvest.
Mm-hmm. So we could
make beer.
Drink beer. I mean, it's not that hard to, I think, even imagine when you look at more recent history with stuff other than beer.
And also, it was a safe drink. You wouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, they had plenty of access to clean water, but like you didn't have to use as much of it if you were drinking beer. Because you don't have to use like the cleanest water for beer. I mean, it helps.
Definitely
makes it tastier.
Yeah.
But the beer will sanitize it.
Yeah.
And if you look at recent history with things like spirits, like whiskey, for example, in the early days of the United States, whiskey, one of the reasons it became so popular is because farmers could not transport their grain, so they made whiskey because whiskey can be transported easier. And it's the same. So like whiskey was a big purpose, like way of making use of grain, and same thing throughout history. Beer was a big use of one of the main reasons we used grain.
Yeah, and that's pretty. It's pretty funny, honestly, that beer was one of the main incentives that we settled down and started agriculture.
I mean,
makes sense.
I think it's very understandable. I mean, if I was a wild man living in the woods and I only got to have beer every once in a while, and then someone came along and said, "Hey, if you live in this house,
I can get you a steady supply
and work a 9-to-5 job, you can have beer every day."
Yeah.
I would be like, okay.
Also, earlier you said the galaxy known as the beer drinkers, and I just wanted to bring up a fact. Now, this is outdated. It's from a year ago, from January 2022. The volume of global consumption for the previous year has been updated, revised from 189.05 million kiloliters to 190.31 million kiloliters of beer every year in the whole world.
Wow.
The U.S. alone, and of course it's not in kiloliters because it's America, but the U.S. alone consumes 6.2 billion gallons of beer a year.
That's insane. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah, and beer is by far the most popular and common drink to be found around the world. And you could take it or leave it, but beer, a lot of people like beer. As we know, as we do.
So, yeah, I mean, and that number is insane also, considering that on average, the average person nowadays drinks way less than we did a few hundred years ago.
I like Pilsner Urquell. Also, it's from the Czech Republic.
Yep.
Which is a huge country for consuming beer. I was looking at...
a big history of beer in the Germanic-speaking...
Oh, definitely.
Countries there. That's one of the reasons, one of the thoughts of why, one origin we suspect of the English word beer. So in the Germanic languages and Celtic and stuff like that, there were words that were similar to that, but we think that the actual word in English for beer, because in the Germanic languages, Germanic countries, they use the word ale more often. Ale was another word for beer. And in English, we use the word ale until we got our language influenced by the French.
Mm-hmm.
So we think that the word for beer actually comes from the Romans, even though they are the only exception, I think, throughout history. of people who hated beer.
Of course they would.
They liked wine. But we think that the
snobs
word beer
Wine
comes
snob.
from a Roman word that was essentially their way of referring to
beverage.
the drink that the German people drank. They were like those barbarians up there. They're drinking this thing, and it's beer.
Also, I have some more facts for you. So we were talking about So Czech Republic by far is the top. So I have the list of beer consumption per capita.
Wow.
And number 1 is the Czech Republic.
Respect.
They consume 140 million liters per year. Or no, 1,498 million liters per year.
Wow.
I don't know if I'm reading that right. But then we have Austria,
Okay.
Romania, Germany, and Poland. The top 5 is all Germanic.
Again, these Germanic countries coming in clutch here as like the top beer drinkers.
Then we have number 6, Namibia. Then we have Ireland. Of course.
I learned recently.
And Guinness is huge there, and I love Guinness. And
hold on.
Stouts. I actually heard that stouts have antioxidant qualities, much like wine does. And we also recently learned, just in life, that stouts like Guinness are much lower calorie than your typical wheat-based beer.
Nigeria is the country I'm thinking of. So in Nigeria, they fucking love Guinness. I had to look that up just now.
Really?
They love to the point of there are people who live there that view Guinness as their beer.
Fair enough.
It's the first place.
I don't think Guinness has a problem with that.
Well, it's the first place outside of Ireland that Guinness opened another brewery. They opened one in Nigeria, and because Guinness worldwide is one of the most popular beers.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
For good reason, it's a good one. But yeah, in Nigeria, it's the second biggest consumer of Guinness outside of Ireland.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then going on with the top 10, we have Spain, then Croatia, and Latvia. And even though the United States consumes, this is per capita. The United States is down all the way at 20. And then surprisingly, UK is down at 23, behind Mexico at 22.
Wow.
Finland at 21.
UK, I'm disappointed in you.
Hell, Australia's even beating them. Of course they would.
Finland, I understand. They probably have other shit they drink.
Yeah.
Finland does a lot of stuff right. And they probably balance their alcoholic diet with other shit.
With other alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
they have a diverse. They probably have a diverse. I don't know. I'm making all this up.
You would assume so, though, right? So the most popular beer, from everything I read, most popular beer around the world, and this is gonna hurt, Budweiser.
Yep.
Which it is true. You can't deny it. If you go by sales.
It's not even why I don't like that is not even just that Budweiser is gross. It's also that Budweiser is pretty much single-handedly responsible for the reason why it took until the 90s and early 2000s for the craft beer industry to take off in America.
Because Anheuser-Busch.
Because Budweiser they killed any potential in the United States for like other types of beers.
Anheuser-Busch, they have stakes. They've been buying up, and they have stakes on some crap breweries now.
Yep. Yep.
Just recently, Breckenridge Brewery.
Yep, I heard about that.
A part of Anheuser-Busch, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, they're that's why when I brought up Sierra Nevada earlier, which is what I'm drinking right now, is they're despite being so large, they are still independently owned. They're not owned. They haven't been gobbled up by Coors or Anheuser or anything like that.
So here's the Coors surprisingly owns a lot of freaking breweries, by the way.
Yeah.
Molson Coors. And Yeah, I could list that off, but that'd be kind of boring. But I do have a list of the most popular beers in the world. So yeah, and Budweiser is number 1, the king of beer, as they call it. And then we have Bud Light. Jesus, what's wrong with the world? Then Corona. Fair enough.
Okay, fair enough. It's not one of the better Mexican lagers out there, but it's okay.
Well, and
Modelo is better.
In Mexico, beer hasn't, like, that term hasn't taken fruition like ever. Mm-hmm. It's cerveza.
Yeah, well, in Spanish it's cerveza, yeah. Which also comes from Latin, but from a different reason than the word beer. So they have different Latin words that they both derive from.
Then we have Heineken at number 4,
which tastes like water.
Yep.
I went to Italy and Spain when I was like in high school, and one of my buddies I was with, he was like, "Have you ever had a Heineken?" And I said no, and he was like, "Dude, you have to try one. It's the best beer you'll ever have. It's so good." And I was like, "I don't believe you, but I'll give it a shot. I will entertain you, and when we go out next,
it tastes like nothing.
I will have a Heineken." And we went to a club, and I had a Heineken, and I was like, "This tastes like seltzer."
Yeah, essentially.
I was like, "This is." I mean, it's not like disgusting.
Heineken was the first hard seltzer, and they didn't even know it.
Yeah. Heineken, the original hard seltzer.
Hey, if they started branding that way, probably get more sales.
Piss off a lot of Heineken fans, though.
Oh, definitely.
Because I feel like all of us know one person who is like, Heineken is the superior beer.
Then we have at number 5 Coors Light. Not Coors Banquet. I don't know why, but I guess because it's cheap. A lot of these is just because it's cheap. And most
related,
manufactured.
Side tangent, but related. Buddy of mine who I work with, he said he had a friend who was in whatever country it is that produces Heineken. I don't remember where it's made.
Is it made in Germany?
I'm not totally sure. But he went to the Heineken factory.
Oh no, in Netherlands.
But his friend went to the Heineken brewery there, and they do a tour, and they show you like a 20-minute movie about Heineken, and they say, apparently when he did this tour, they say, while you're watching this 20-minute movie, you can have as many Heinekens as you want. And he got so drunk he threw up.
Oh.
He drank so many Heinekens in 20 minutes that he threw up.
Well, that actually brings up another one of my talking points. Ooh, this Pilsner.
And not because the guy like loved Heineken or anything, but it was like, it's a challenge, right?
Well, yeah, if they offer...
They say this is a 20-minute movie, and any Heinekens you drink during it are totally free.
Then like, you're going to drink as many as you can.
That sounds like a challenge.
In a 20-minute sitting. Yeah. That sounds awful, though. Next, at number 6, and there's a lot of Chinese breweries we're going to be getting to. This first one, I don't know if I can... but they account for a large portion, like at least half of the world's breweries.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to be pronouncing this right, so I apologize. Tsingtao makes up a whopping 22.9% of the beer market in China. It's one of the top-selling alcohol brands worldwide. I would like to try some beers from Asia and Japan and China.
Try some
beer.
Yeah, well, there's
I've had sake, but I want
there's Sapporo, which is a beer, which is Japanese, but it's basically like a Budweiser type of thing. It's not like anything special. But that's the only one I can think of that's even somewhat easy to find around where we live.
Then at number 7...
And I only know about it because I work at a liquor store and I sell it.
Number 7, this one should be a lot higher. Modelo. I think it should be higher than Corona.
It should be, yeah.
Out of all the... Yeah, Modelo's like the best like big brand Mexican lager I've had.
I like Modelo quite a lot, actually.
Modelo Especial.
It's got a really nice crispness to it. It's tasty. I'm.
And then number 8.
I don't know for sure, but I'm almost positive we've had Modelo on the podcast at some point.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Also owned by Molson Coors, we have Keystone Light at number 8.
Do you remember those Keith Stone
I've never
commercials?
even had one.
I've not
Thank
either,
God.
actually.
I've never wanted one.
Should we do?
No one's given. I don't know anyone that's like, I'm a Keystone Light guy.
Should we do an episode where we try all the beers that we refuse to try normally?
Sure, why not?
But do you remember
We'll
the
hate
Keith Stone commercials?
it. Vaguely.
Yeah, those commercials where it's like cool guy with sunglasses, like it's Keith Stone. And he
Oh.
was like delivering Keystone Light.
And then number 9, we have Miller Lite.
Why are all the light beers?
And guess
so
what?
fucking
They're
popular?
also owned by Molson Coors.
Of course.
I thought Miller was its own thing.
I kind of thought that too. But
But nope.
I shouldn't be surprised. I know Coors owns like a fuck ton of stuff, like,
Yeah.
and I only know that from, again, at the store I work at, we get the deliveries from Coors, and it's a lot of beer that's not.
Yeah, and their base
Coors.
of operations is actually in Chicago.
Yeah, traders.
Hate it. Yeah, traders. And then number 10,
We're not going to get into the history of Coors either.
this is probably the only beer that's not a lager on here. Guinness.
Of course.
Number 10.
Of course, it's the only beer so far on that list that I legitimately actually. Like.
Oh, but this list keeps going. This is actually surprising, especially considering the world as a whole. 11, PBR.
Yeah,
I forgot.
our guy PBR.
Yeah.
It's not good, but we're fond of it.
Or like what my dad said that one time.
PBRs are actually not as bad as I thought.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Yep. You said it. You said it, Jason.
He did say it. And then at number 12, we have Sapporo. Yeah, Japanese lager.
Yeah. I've not tried Sapporo, but I it's not hard to get around here.
Now, do you want to know who holds the world record for the most beers consumed in one sitting? Can you guess?
Is it Andre the Giant?
It is Andre the Giant.
Oh, holy shit. I was just watching The Princess Bride before you came over.
No way. Well, anyways, Andre the Giant still holds the world, and he there's a lot of beer and booze, alcohol related facts I have about him. He was a huge drinker and a really huge guy.
Well, apparently, from what I understand, he didn't drink.
Do you have a charger, like a wireless charger?
Yeah, hold on.
Because my phone is on the
talking.
brink. But anyways, Andre the Giant, and I totally believe it. Like, I don't even doubt it. It's Andre the Giant. That man is literally a giant. Drank 119 beers in the span of 6 hours. Andre once consumed 119 12-ounce beers in 6 hours. To put that in mere mortal terms, okay, and this is from the Thrillist article, so this isn't my own words here. Put that in mere mortal terms, that equates to a 12-ounce beer downed every 3 minutes, nonstop for 6 hours straight.
Holy shit.
Yeah. After the marathon drinking session, Andre passed out in the hotel lobby and couldn't be moved or stirred. His friends resorted to draping him with a piano cover, because that man is huge, and letting him sleep through the morning. So 119 beers in 6 hours. I know Wade Boggs. They did the whole episode on Always Sunny about it. So the original number that everyone heard from Wade Boggs was that he drank like 70 beers from the flight to Philly to LA.
That's, yeah.
But he told Charlie in an interview, and they didn't put this in the show because they didn't think anyone would believe it. But he was like, actually, it was 105.
I mean,
and then he went on.
The impressive thing about that is not just the sheer amount of alcohol he was consuming, but also the fact that the flight from Philly to LA is like a 4 to 5 hour flight.
Yeah, I don't know.
So 105 beers in 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's outpacing Andre the Giant, apparently.
Yeah, that's insane. Like how you have to, you can't be like sipping on beers.
But speaking
You're
of
slamming
oh
beers.
yeah, slam down.
Like that's what shocks me so much about that number.
But speaking of drinking on a plane, Andre the Giant has another, not necessarily record. It's an anecdote. They don't really have proof of it, but I would believe it because it's Andre the Giant. He once. So according to Ric Flair, Andre the Giant once drank a plane's entire stock of vodka dry
Holy shit!
on a flight on a trip to Japan.
I mean, I've heard stories about Andre the Giant, and in general, I've heard he didn't actually drink that much on a regular basis.
but he would go on big like splurges.
Yeah.
But according to Ric Flair,
That took a lot to get him drunk.
with Ric Flair himself, they drank every bottle of vodka on the plane.
Holy shit!
Apparently, he drank a case of wine in 3 hours. According to Hulk Hogan,
Holy shit!
he drank 40 vodka tonics.
A case of wine, that's 12 bottles of wine.
Well, apparently, the real funny one. So when Andre the Giant quit drinking, so in an interview with David Letterman, Andre the Giant once quit drinking to trim 475 pounds. Which what?
What?
That doesn't sound right.
That doesn't sound right.
But
That
anyways,
doesn't-
during this period, he would still drink 3 to 5 bottles of wine with his dinner. 3 to 5 bottles with his dinner.
God,
That man could take any.
fucking insane.
Yeah.
And I think when I go a week where I have more than 2 or 3 beers a night, that I'm drinking a lot.
Oh, to trim down to 474 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Because he was 7'2" and weighed 520 pounds.
Wow.
Literally a giant. Oh, that's smart. Drinking some water.
Drinking some water,
Balance it out,
guys.
yeah. Anyways, I have one more fact about Andre the Giant. Apparently, one time while filming The Princess Bride, Andre allegedly rang up a $40,000 bar tab in London.
What?
Andre's go-to order was something called an American. 40 ounces of various liquors poured into a pitcher. I've never tasted airplane fuel. This from an interview from Carrie Ells. I never tasted airplane fuel, Ells said, but I imagine it's very close to what that must taste like. It's very potent indeed, and I remember coughing a lot. But to him, it was like chugging water.
It's insane because like everything I've heard about Andre the Giant, even when he was drinking, that he was a total sweetheart of a person.
Oh, definitely.
Like a very, very good guy. But then also you hear that he drank that much and you're like, holy shit.
He could just really handle it. Just
I mean, yeah, he was a massive fucking guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. But yeah, he was
About
a
to
huge
try
drinker.
this porter that you got.
It's really good. I like it. It's tasty, and it's not too strong on the raspberry. I think it's just a perfect mix. You know, just. And I love a good porter, so. Especially this time of year when it's chilly
I
out.
do love a good porter. I prefer stouts in general, but I think there's a lot more interesting porters out there. Stouts can be, when people start
Samey.
to flavor them and stuff, it starts to taste weird.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, yeah, the non-flavored ones can feel a lot very samey.
Yeah.
Porters handle flavoring and messing with the recipe a lot better.
Yeah, I think there's more you can do with flavor there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyways.
Well, this is going, stouts and porters, they became really popular during like the Industrial Revolution
Oh, really?
as kind of a working man's beer.
Oh.
And that's what led to actually pale ales becoming popular, is as a response to working man's beers being stouts and porters, that rich people were like, we don't want to drink that shit. So they would drink pale ales. And and it's where hops came into popularity, really. Because
Really?
so before, in the Middle Ages and before, there were many different methods to making beer. Sometimes if you make a beer and you don't put anything in it, if you just like make a soupy grain thing and let it ferment, it won't last a whole long time. It'll spoil eventually. and start to lose its flavor and stuff like that. So you would brew it and then drink it right away.
Oh.
And then they started, experimenting with different things you can add to it to kind of make it last longer. And that's where you hear, if you ever hear someone say like, oh, we don't know how they made ale in the Middle Ages. No, we know how they made ale. We just don't have their exact recipes all the time necessarily, because they would use different like combinations of spices and things like that. And it's called a gruit, Gruit is the style of beer. They still make them nowadays, but they're not super common. But they figured out hops have really good antimicrobial elements to them. So you could put hops into a beer and it would last longer.
Oh,
and
I see.
And that's where an IPA comes from, is during, of course, the history of beer, of modern beer, has been heavily influenced by colonialism.
That fun thing that happens. Yeah.
So when the British were in India, what they would do is that, they'd make beer in England, they'd ship it to the British people that were living in India, but it wouldn't last, sitting in the barrels in the ship for a long period of time. By the time it got to them, it wouldn't taste good anymore. So they started really just like loading the beer with a lot of hops, and they would make pale ales, which had been a thing for a while, and they would load the beer with a lot of hops so that it would not go bad on its trip.
And that's why it's called an India Pale Ale?
That's why it's called an India Pale Ale.
Wow, I never knew that.
Because it was made originally specifically to ship to India from England. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
IPAs come from colonialism.
Colonialism, yeah.
Yeah. The dark shadow of colonialism.
Yeah, that's...
I was reading up just on some facts while you're going over all that, and I did not know this, but...
Ooh, that's a tasty beer.
I don't want to get political, okay? I don't want everyone to freak out. But President Barack Obama was the first president to host a White House brewing session and brewed the first beer at the White House.
Dude, I love that. Say what you will about Obama. Not getting too political here. You can't deny that that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Brewed the first beer in the White House in 2011.
I wonder what the favorite beer of each president was.
I'm going to look that up. I'm going to see if there's a thing about that.
I know I've read lists about each president's favorite drink. For example, Teddy Roosevelt, one of his favorite drinks was, he loved a good mint julep, but he also loved a good Cuba Libre, which is a rum and coke with lime.
Oh, that makes sense.
The legend of the Cuba Libre, that rum and coke, is that it was invented by Teddy Roosevelt and the Rough Riders. That's probably not true, but that's the story.
Oh, yeah.
During the Spanish-American War.
The only thing I'd find is a list of the president's favorite drinks. Cocktails and such.
Lame.
But I can look through real quick and see if any of them specifically liked a kind of beer. Abraham Lincoln, water. Fair enough. That's good. Good for you.
Lame,
Sober.
but also respectable.
Yeah, very respectable.
I can respect that. Yeah.
John F. Kennedy, Bloody Mary. Oh, George Washington. Now the first president, Sheraton Commander himself.
Of the Constitution.
Of the Constitution, yes.
Not of the United States.
What? Yes.
Yeah. There were other presidents before Washington.
The first president of the Constitution
under the Constitution.
Yes.
Anyways, under the Articles of Confederation, there were other presidents.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that failed state.
No one talks about any of them.
Yeah. Anyways, the first president of the United States.
This counts as
America.
This counts as a tangent point because I want to mention it.
Okay.
So I've read.
Oh wait, let me tell them how the tangent points works. So whenever we start on the topic, we go on a tangent that is not related to the topic, at all, because I assume this isn't.
It's not.
Okay, good. You get a tangent point.
But I have to say it because it popped in my head, and I have.
You can get a max of 3 tangent points per episode.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get 3 tangent points, we have 2 choices. We either have to take a shot on the spot once we have those 3 points, or we can veto the shot, but that means we immediately have to take a shot on the next episode.
Immediately, yeah.
And for continuity's sake, I hope we don't get 3 tangent points this episode. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
Anyways.
But this is the first one so far, so we're doing good. I just have to say it. Articles of Confederation. If you read, you should read them sometime because they're great. And there's a lot of stuff in them that is kind of like, it's very telling of the time and the mentality that the Founding Fathers actually had. And my favorite detail in the Articles of Confederation is that they lay out basically the requirements that you have to meet to become part of the Union.
Mm-hmm.
And there is an exception, though, for Canada. Under the Articles of Confederation, basically Canada can just become part of the United States whenever they want.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. We were like, we just want Canada.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to.
Well, just think about it. Like, at the time, their mentality, how they thought about the British Empire and that sort of stuff, they kind of just, like, had this idea that they just assumed that Canada might just follow suit.
Yeah.
Or at least parts of Canada might. So they put that in the Articles of Confederation. They're like, there's all of these requirements of what it means to become a state in the Union, not just a territory. That's different, but a state. And basically, it implied that any part of Canada could just be like, we want to be part of the United States, and the United States would just be like, okay,
yeah,
welcome.
No, yeah,
you're a state now.
We want to argue over.
Yeah, and just automatically they would be a state. Part of the Union, full rights, everything.
No, yeah, we would never deny that or put them through any kind of trouble.
Yeah. Now, that is not in the they nixed that from the Constitution.
Yeah.
So it's not law anymore, but it's hilarious to me that the Founding Fathers, that was their mentality of they're just like, Canada might just want to join us.
Well, because that would have been an amazing expansion and asset.
Well, they were just like, Canada might want to join us, so we should just make sure that
it didn't go that way.
That it's not very difficult for them.
Did it, Canadians? The War of 1812.
Yeah.
Didn't go that way. Anyways.
It's a fun war. We still claim victory somehow. But
yeah.
It was actually kind of a draw.
It was well, and that was like one of the only times the White House ever been attacked.
It's the only war.
New White House.
I think it's one of the only wars in U.S. history where the political circumstances surrounding the war are fascinating, but the war itself was really boring.
Yeah. There's a lot of boring songs.
It's kind of a boring war.
But anyways, George Washington.
Boring songs? Battle of New Orleans is not a boring song. Fuck you.
I knew that would get a rise out of you. No, it is a pretty fun song. And the Battle of New Orleans, that's a funny thing in history because the war had already been...
Yeah, it happened after the war ended.
Yeah, it happened after the war ended. Andrew Jackson
no one got the memo.
Was proclaimed as a war hero because of it, even though it was pointless.
Yep.
Anyways, George Washington, he fancied himself a dark porter, which we happen to be enjoying right now.
Good guy, George Washington.
Washington sold whiskey near Mount Vernon, but he almost likely didn't drink his own product. Instead, going for the hard liquor, he enjoyed a dark porter.
I respect that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Makes me like George Washington a little bit more than I already did.
Of course, Thomas Jefferson preferred wine.
Well, apparently Thomas Jefferson brewed beer, though. Didn't he?
Oh, yeah?
That's what I've heard.
It said wine was his favorite, though.
Yeah.
Because he would always go to France.
Keep going. I'm going to look up this Thomas Jefferson thing.
Let's see. Anyone else that Eisenhower enjoyed scotch. I respect that. Definitely with Eisenhower. Of course, John Adams would like a hard cider.
Of course.
Barack Obama, beer. Just beer in general. He just liked any kind. He currently
Thomas Jefferson did brew beer.
Nice.
He had a personal brew house. Yeah.
So yeah, he had. I think this is the beer that they brewed, the White House Honey Ale, that they serve for guests.
I want to try that.
Yeah, it sounds good, honestly. Truman liked the bourbon.
Of course he did. Bourbon, I learned recently. I don't know why I didn't know this. I feel like I should have known this. Just like how tequila has to be made in Jalisco in Mexico, bourbon has to be made in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
You can't call it bourbon if it's not made in the United States.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I don't know why I didn't know that. I feel like, because I know a lot about bourbon.
It could taste like a bourbon.
But I've never thought about that.
It could be made the same exact way, but you couldn't call it
I was asking my boss the other day about tequila production, because he's all into
whiskey.
tequila. And I was asking him questions about it, and he mentioned just like bourbon, and it has to be in the United States. And I didn't say anything because I was embarrassed. But in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I didn't know that, but it makes a lot of sense." But I didn't know that.
George H.W. Bush, Daddy Bush, he enjoyed. I like this. He drank a little bit of everything. Clearly, any type of alcohol appeals to his taste. However,
he was
out of hundreds of
basically, it's a very nice way of saying that.
Out of hundreds of choices, his clear pick was beer and vodka martinis.
Vodka martinis, you bitch. What?
Vodka martini, yeah.
God, make it with gin, like a real fucking like fucking alcoholic.
Like a real American.
Yeah.
Anyone else that like beer? Let's see. A lot of scotch and whiskey, of course. George Bush, he enjoyed Diet Coke.
Just like his father.
Apparently Trump also enjoyed Diet Coke.
Just like
Bill Clinton, snake bite.
Oh my God! What the fuck? another alcoholic on the list.
Made with equal parts of hard cider and lager.
The fuck, Clinton?
Damn.
Where did that come from?
But there's a lot more. But I want to mention the beer related.
It was the Irish snake bite where you do the beer and cider, and you also add some board to it.
Well, and I know we talked about this one before.
I know about the Irish snake bite from Caleb.
Snake.
Back in our bachelor college days.
Oh, yeah. Snake venom beer. We've talked about this one before on our Weird Foods episode, I believe. Fortified Scottish beer from Brewmeister at 67.5% ABV.
Holy
the strongest beer in the world.
That is... I mean, that's practically a fucking whiskey.
What would that taste like?
Yeah, that's insane.
What are we talking about here? I mean...
That's what the fuck.
I want to try it.
I do want to try it.
For the podcast, definitely.
If
I can find it.
Oh, God. I bet it's expensive, though.
Yeah, just like one 12-ounce bottle. I can't imagine.
This is a really tasty porter.
I love it. Yeah, it's good, actually. Yeah. Silver Moon Brewing. Yeah.
What else are we looking at here?
What are you looking at here?
You still looking at presidents?
No, I'm done with presidents.
Oh, okay.
I'm done with them.
A lot of lame presidents.
I
feel like in reality, more presidents actually really loved beer, because if you ask the average person, "What's your favorite drink?" I feel like beer is so normalized as like a regular drink that if you were to ask me what's my favorite drink, I probably wouldn't say beer. I'd probably be like, I love a good old fashioned.
Yeah,
but that's just the pretentious asshole part of me. But in reality,
what's your favorite drink and most commonly consumed drink is two very different things.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. My most commonly consumed type of drink is definitely beer.
Do you have any more beer history for us? Anything in particular?
I've got some more beer history.
Any beer anecdotes?
Some pretty cool stuff. What are you thinking? What? Just
we'll continue along the timeline. So beer's been created.
5,000
BC.
The Romans didn't like it.
Romans didn't like it. They liked wine, pretentious.
Yeah, those fucks.
Yeah, those Roman fucks.
So I did a little bit of a dive into because we did not too long ago an episode on Vikings, and we talked about mead.
The Vikings also did a thing with beer.
Yeah.
Often, and this would be, I forget exactly what they were called, but like the berserker, like wildmen.
Oh yeah,
Vikings,
so
they would mix hallucinogens into their beer
before
a battle.
I'd have to look this up, but we think we know.
So they would go fucking crazy.
We think we know what plant they used.
Oh really?
Let me. What was?
Well, and also I have one. They would drink from ale horns, or just drinking horns, and I have one.
Well, that's kind of where I was going was that the Vikings made a big deal about communal drinking. So this,
definitely, yeah.
I think this is just a good example. I mean, this is around the world people did this, but a good example is the Vikings. Because beer is a very not just an important like a beverage, but important social thing.
Yeah.
So the Vikings, for example, made a big deal about communal drinking. They would pass around, a single glass.
Yeah,
and you do like a horn like that. You'd have meat in it, but for like ale, they would even do that with ale. And there's examples of glasses that are a single one, but with 3 cups that come out of it, like a stem attached to 3 different cups.
That's fun. I want one.
I'm not finding it right now, but there's a specific type of like flour, basically.
But no, and we've talked about
it.
it.
think they put into the beer.
But like at the after a successful raid, they would celebrate drinking ale. And
but it was an
beer.
important thing. It would be like
beer.
the equivalent, like if you were to meet a Viking clan and you were to go sit down in their hall and feast with them, it would be very rude of you to refuse when they pass you the glass of ale.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
That it was.
Why would you?
It was a bonding thing.
Why would you refuse?
You'd be like, it's
unless it's laced with hallucinogens.
Well, it's the equivalent of like how like if we're sitting at a bar and someone's like, hey, cheers,
and then you don't. You're just like, nah.
And you don't clink your glasses. That's
what the
rude.
fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very special bonding thing for humans
definitely.
in general.
To get drunk together. Yeah.
And just socially, beer is kind of interesting because it's not just like a casual social thing, but it's also been like throughout history kind of a religious thing too. So like you go back to ancient Egypt, for example, and Samaria and Mesopotamia.
Beer was big.
They brewed beer, but they would brew it and they would bury it with their dead. There's one pharaoh in ancient Egypt that was buried with like several hundred liters of beer.
Wow.
Like a lot of beer. Probably more than that. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
Probably not good anymore.
But I mean, if you think about it, it wasn't until like the 17 or 1800s that we actually learned what yeast was. Like how alcohol works.
Yeah.
So think about throughout history, the earliest humans brewing beer, it must have seemed like magic or like a spiritual thing to them, because essentially, you take wheat and you yeast. If you're taking wheat, you use yeast when you're making bread as well, often, right? So
Definitely.
you have. And a yeast exists in the wild. So you take wheat, you make it into a dough, it makes bread. The soupy version of that was beer. But we didn't know how it worked. So it must have seemed like
it was basically the soupy version of bread. Yeah.
Yeah, so it must have seemed like magic, like this crazy thing gifted to us from the gods, that like if we
bread
take
water.
this soupy bread water and we let it sit for a few weeks, we get drunk off of it. So
it tastes good.
So it played a really big role in in religious ceremonies as well.
So lager must have been the first,
probably, yeah, something similar
kind of beer.
Something similar to that. I mean, some beer.
It would probably still taste way different than what we're used to.
Some beer.
And I heard often would have like bread chunks in it. And
that
stuff.
was not an uncommon thing because
Yeah.
I mean that's another thing too, is like you had early
Could be thick.
Early humans, after we settled down and started agriculture, we didn't have the best diets, but beer, you can get like different like vitamin B and stuff like that from beer. So it provided vitamins that you wouldn't get from your normal diet. So it was important for just general like health.
Now, I don't know if this is true, but from order.beer.com, I believe it's a UK site. Anyways, they said the builders of the Great Pyramids were paid in beer.
They were. Well, they weren't paid exclusively in beer. They were paid in money.
But there was
as
one
well.
of the, I would hope
But they
so.
were provided rations. They were provided with food, including a daily ration of beer.
Nice.
The number I've heard is that they were provided with up to a liter of beer a day. And this is a general thing, you know, in U.S. history. And so a lot of these facts I want to mention a lot of these facts about U.S. history with beer come from An Alcoholic Republic. It's a book by W.J. Rohrbaugh. It's a book that I've used for other stuff related to whiskey. That I've researched.
Yeah, and we were chronically like addicted to whiskey, or not addicted, but we consumed so much that
This is an insane amount of whiskey Americans consume.
that people,
Americans fucking love
people were
whiskey.
dying and just had short life spans.
But soldiers in the U.S. Army and stuff like that were given beer and whiskey for their rations. Like it was considered.
Makes sense.
It's throughout history, and this is not an uncommon thing. The Romans were apparently given, alcohol for their rations. It's just like a common thing throughout the American Revolution. George Washington gave his soldiers, beer every day, like a liter of beer type of thing. Just like the Egyptians who built the pyramids. So throughout history,
It's a good incentive.
Beer has always been this thing that just like, I'm working.
I'm willing to toil all day if I get my liter of beer.
Exactly. I know that's the point. It's like humans love beer so much that we're just like,
we'll do backbreaking work for it.
Yeah.
And that kind of just applies to modern day
beer. I mean, what do you and me?
Like I know guys at work, the first thing they do when they get paid is get a case of beer.
I do that sometimes.
Like the first thing they do.
you and me
like that's the first thing they grab.
You and me work full time, and we spend how much of our budget, of our expendable income on beer?
I don't want to state that, but
I'm not going to state it either, but like enough to make a point of beer is awesome, and humans love it.
Well, obviously humans love it. Yeah. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years. Apparently, you can listen here.
I'm listening.
I haven't been beer drunk in a while.
Yeah.
Just straight up beer drunk.
People always say like wine drunk makes you. It's like I get wine drunk, I get so happy and giddy. I'm like, but beer drunk is jolly.
Yeah, beer drunk's more of a jolly. Wine drunk does get me. it gets me more.
Gives me giggly
and just a little bit more emotional, but like happy emotional usually.
But beer drunk is like swinging your glasses back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, you can swim in a pool of beer at the Schloss Starkenberger Brewery in Torrance, Austria.
I want to do it.
I got to look at this up.
Sounds awesome.
It also sounds really sticky and really
well, I'd want to take a shower afterwards, but I'd want to do it. If I was at a brewery and they're like, do you want to swim in beer, I'd be like, yes. Do you even have to ask?
I feel like it'd be really easy to drown in beer. Is there any images of this? No, that's a guy with a beer in a pool.
I mean, I've done that. Many times. I've been to a hotel before where they had a swimming pool and they had a bar that you could swim up to the bar. Have you ever been to a bar like that, like a hotel where, like a resort?
Oh yeah.
There's only
a handful of.
I only got to do it once, but it was awesome. And there's an entire concept of being able to swim up to a bar and order a beer and sit there in the pool with my beer.
They have that at the Durango spa now.
Oh, cool.
You can be in the hot springs and literally swim up, order your drink, and have your beer.
That's rad.
Yeah. even though you're in a hot spring, so you're hot.
Yeah, so, well,
But
that's
a nice cold beer pairs well.
I was
with
gonna
that.
say you gotta have a beer.
But that also dehydrates you. So yeah,
We'll have a water too.
yeah, water. Yeah. Who needs that? Anyways, do you want to do a beer quiz, a personality quiz,
A beer personality quiz. Oh,
what kind of beer are you?
Oh boy.
And I also have a beer tier list if we want to get into that. It's a pretty short one. It's like all the big mainstream ones.
I'm gonna find this. What?
It's from Brainfall. What type of beer are you?
Let's see.
And we'll be wrapping this up pretty soon because I don't know how much more we can talk about beer without drinking more beer and getting drunk. Anyways,
I got it.
Let's get going.
Hold on.
oh yeah, you got to get your Pilsner.
I'm gonna have one more beer.
Pilsner. I like that. That's probably seriously. I've had a lot of Pilsners that I really don't like. That's one I like.
It's more along the lines of like a pale ale.
Yeah, really.
Well, the history of Pilsners is Pilsners are very closely related to pale ales. And this one is the first one when pale ales were still like kind of catching on.
The original recipe.
All right.
Czech Republic. Yeah. Anyways,
Beer quiz.
question 1. You're setting the menu for your last meal on Earth. What do you choose? Seafood, dessert, comfort food, or a salad?
What do they mean by comfort food? Do they mean
Yeah, that could mean anything.
then I'm gonna pick that? Like,
I'm going to do a nice
I mean,
shrimp linguine.
can comfort food mean like
Seafood.
Well, I'm like, can comfort food mean like a good brisket, like a good pastrami sandwich,
I think comfort food.
or do they mean like barbecue and southern food,
That's what I'm kind of
like
thinking.
mashed potatoes,
Southern, like mashed potatoes,
with biscuits with apple
biscuits,
butter,
gravy.
and gravy.
Yeah.
I would do that though. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. How often do you drink beer? Only on the weekends, once or twice a week, daily.
Daily.
Special occasions, I prefer wine or liquor.
I mean,
I
actually,
like wine and liquor
Recently,
also.
it's been once or twice a week because I've been drinking a lot of liquor instead. But
Yeah. Really? I'm in the same place. Like this last month, I've been drinking wine occasionally and liquor occasionally, and then whenever we do the podcast,
I've been drinking a
obviously.
lot of whiskey.
But
and
like at
scotch.
home, I haven't had beer for a while.
Yeah.
But on average, I guess to average
Right.
everything out, I'll do once or twice a week.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I press daily because just sometimes it is daily. But
Okay. Your dream getaway is a tropical resort anywhere I've never been before. That's
that's ominous.
yeah. That's also kind of cheaty because you could just fill in the blank. A European cruise, a camping trip to visit family and friends.
None of these sound like the perfect getaway.
Um,
I don't want to like tropical resort is pretty close. European cruise, I don't like cruises.
and I don't like Europe.
We've talked about this on our
just
phobias
kidding.
thing.
Oh yeah, the deep water.
I don't
yeah.
like boats.
You don't like water.
Camping
Ocean.
trip. Camping trips are cool, but like that doesn't.
That's
seem
not my
like-
dream
it's not a
getaway.
Dream getaway.
Where I have to work all
Family
day.
and friends. What? No.
I'm gonna do anywhere I've never been before, and I'm gonna say Narnia
I'm just
because
Okay,
I've never been
well,
there.
when you
before.
put it that way, I want to click the same answer because I'm like I'd like to go to Rivendell.
Yeah, that's Lord of the Rings, though.
Yeah, I know, but still.
I
same,
read it.
Same idea.
Actually, yeah. In your free time, you enjoy
Care Paravel. Fuck. Like, fine. If we had to stick to Narnia. Yeah, I know Narnia shit. Fuck you too.
the lion, the witch.
Care Paravel, Jackson, is the castle city that the kings and queens of Narnia, the daughters and sons of Adam,
You know more about
reside at.
Narnia than I wish you would have. Okay.
Shut up. I've read all the books. I like Narnia.
Hey, C.S. Lewis is a great author.
Yeah.
But he's nothing
It's-
compared to his
it's-
colleague, J.R. Tolkien.
The Jesus shit's a little on the nose,
It's-
but
Gets a little Jesus forward. Yeah. Anyways,
That's
no,
what
that
they
would
called me
never
in
be
high
your
school.
that would never be your nickname in high school, Colton.
Jesus forward.
Anyways, in your free time, you enjoy tackling a DIY project, working out, hanging out with friends, relaxing in front of the TV, spending time by the pool. Well, I don't have a pool. Thanks for making me sad. Video games counts as relaxing in front of TV.
Yeah, I'm gonna
right?
go with that. And friends can be with you when you're
I
relaxing.
mean, tackling a DIY project sometimes, but that's not what I
it's not what I do on a regular
prefer to
basis.
do.
Sometimes I get weirdly like into a DIY thing, but
Yeah.
like, not on a regular
cosplay
basis.
or like.
What is your
whatever.
preferred beer storage vessel?
Ooh, a can, 12-ounce bottle, 22-ounce bottle, or a keg. You don't see me having a keg too often.
I mean, I think beer is always better out of a keg,
is
but I
better.
don't buy kegs.
But I would say a bottle. I like a bottle a little bit more than a can.
I'd agree with
Feels
that.
a little bit more official, a little more proper.
I would agree.
And it,
You don't always watch movies, but when you do, you prefer documentaries, comedies, action films, horror movies, or sports movies.
most sports movies are bad.
Mm-hmm.
Most horror movies are bad,
Yeah, but they can be fun though.
but they can be fun, and there is good ones actually. I'm just joking around. Action films, really.
I think I lean towards comedies, but like, I think just a lot of the movies I really love, you can at least justify calling them at least a comedy in a little bit.
Yeah,
Like The Princess Bride, I was watching that earlier today. It's not
but it's
a
also
full-on comedy.
It's also a fantasy adventure film.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you could reasonably say it's a comedy, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna lean towards comedy.
I'm gonna lean towards horror movies because I'm the horror movie guy around here.
You are the horror.
I have
movie
to
guy.
say that, right?
Yeah.
I want to watch Megan. By the way, I'm gonna watch that. It looks.
I don't
fun.
want to watch that.
It looks fun and stupid, and
It looks
I like
stupid and weird.
That's why I want to watch it.
And I've seen the trailers and I've said to myself, no.
Well, I'll
I'm not
tell you.
gonna watch that.
I'll tell you. We got to do an episode or something on Evil Dead Rise.
Oh yeah,
I watched that movie.
Looks
Looks crazy, and there's an Evil Dead beer that I found.
And
anyways.
yeah.
You're at a bar when someone accidentally bumps into you, spilling your beer. How do you react? Turn around and start yelling, calmly accept the person's apology. Well, you're assuming they apologized. Most times they'll probably just fuck off to wherever they're going. Laugh it off. Walk up to the bar and order another. Make a sarcastic comment. Probably sarcastic comment for me.
Probably a sarcastic comment. At the same time, though, even though
Depends how much beer they spill.
yeah, I mean, if they knock my glass out of my hand,
That's
one
a
thing.
yelling
but
thing.
If it just spilled a little bit, I probably wouldn't say anything. I mean, I've been in my fair share of fights, but I typically actively avoid them.
Fights, yeah. Especially bar fights.
So I'm gonna say I'd probably just fucking order another beer. Be like angry about it for the rest of the night.
So you would hold it in.
I'd hold it
Yeah.
in and then take it out on some other poor asshole. At the bar.
The next guy that pisses you off.
Yeah.
When you're not drinking beer, your beverage of choice is, why isn't beer an option? Beer should just be an option here.
That would be great.
Water, soda,
coffee.
liquor, probably coffee or tea.
I mean, I drink liquor a lot, but like
For me, it's gonna be water.
if you were to say, do you want beer?
I mean, I
Or,
enjoy.
like, I drink liquor a lot, but if someone were like, would you like a glass of whiskey or would you like a cup of coffee? I would probably go for the coffee.
And especially in the morning.
All day,
Any day.
any day, all
Anytime.
day. I drink a lot of coffee.
We still gotta do that coffee podcast.
yeah.
Wink, wink. Anyways, pink. It's not pink. Sorry. Pick your favorite beer quote. Most people hate the taste of beer to begin with. It is, however, a prejudice. Beer is the best damn drink in the world. Where are these from, by the way? Is this from movies or?
I don't know.
Beer is intellectual. What a shame so many idiots drink it. No, I hate that quote. It's pretentious. It's a lot easier to start the day when you know it will end with beer. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy. No, they don't talk about beer in the Bible. Or they probably do, but
I don't like any of these quotes. If they're from things, I don't get them.
I guess it's a lot easier to start the day when you know it'll end with beer.
Yeah.
Even though I don't
I'm
like
gonna pick
any
the
of them.
God quote just to be like,
That is fun.
yeah, I kind of like it. I don't agree with it, but I
You like it. How long have you been into beer? I just started drinking beer. Wrong. Long enough to know that what I like. So long I started brewing my own. I know my uncle brews his own. I just like to enjoy a cold one every now and then.
My dad tried brewing once.
How did that go?
Not well.
Oh.
I recall it not.
What was he trying to brew?
I don't remember, but I remember he
Just had
did
a hard time
he
with
was
it?
not pleased with how it turned out.
So
Long
it's like, I'll
enough to
just
know what
buy-
I like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with that one too. Hopefully we don't
Calculating
get the
results.
Same thing. Because that often happens here.
Ooh.
Get my result. Cleaning up. What are you cleaning up?
Get result. You
Analyzing.
have to do a fucking survey to get your result. Fine. Fuck it.
I didn't have to do a survey.
Ask me to do a fucking survey.
Well, according to my quiz, I'm a Saison.
Ooh.
With an eclectic taste in your own style, you march to the beat of your own drum. Even though you may rub some the wrong way, you still keep true to yourself and you play by your own rules. I haven't had a Saison in a long time, funnily enough, considering I am one, according to this quiz. You have to do a survey?
I'm clicking answers at random. I'm not at all.
There is a lot of pop-ups on the site, at least for me.
Oh my god. Fuck off. Fucking
Just want to know what beer he is.
yeah.
That's all he wants. That's all I want.
Okay, I got it. I'm an IPA.
Of course you would be.
It's the pumpkin spice latte of white guys.
Yep.
Intense and a little bit like a punch to the mouth. You have quite the personality. You're definitely an acquired taste. That's very vague. And I don't know.
Colton's an acquired taste, guys. I didn't like IPAs at first, but I like them now.
My first. So I remember when I was like, I was growing up. The first 2 beers that I had. I remember the first beer I ever had was my dad gave me a chocolate stout. It was pretty good, but it was like a for a
first beer
for a middle schooler who had never had a beer before. It was a difficult one to get down.
I bet.
It was me and him one night. My mom and my sisters were out, and he cooked some steaks and gave me a chocolate stout, a little glass of chocolate stout with it. But then I think I remember the first like kind of not IPA but pale ale that I've ever had was the Sierra Nevada. It's why I buy it still.
That's
sometimes.
fair.
It's a decent beer, and it's one of the first I ever had.
I hate to say this, but one of the first I ever had was a Heineken.
Mm.
And I didn't like it. And I went years without having. I didn't really start having any kind of beer. Like, my dad didn't really drink that much. He didn't have it in the house, really.
My dad drank a lot. He just hid it.
Yeah, well, maybe my dad was hiding it. I don't know. But
Apparently, he still feels like he has to hide it sometimes. And my mom is like, "You don't have to hide it." Like,
yeah.
like why are you hiding the Fireball in the garage? You don't have to hide it.
But I can tell you,
I think it's just habit.
I probably said this before. I've had beer, a few times before I was legal drinking age. I never really liked it.
I did.
I started liking it.
I was into it from the first sip of that chocolate stout. I was like, yeah, this is good shit. And I recall the first time I was able to drink freely was when I was in high school, and I went on a high school trip to Italy and Spain.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before,
Yeah.
and
Many times.
And I just remember like being like the one of the only people in the group of students that like as soon as we like first night we get there, well actually no, airplane flew with Lufthansa, German airline. As soon as we were over international waters, beer.
Yeah, because then you were old enough.
Yeah, well, technically, I was
countries.
15 years old. You have to be 16
Oh.
in Germany, but the stewardess was because in Europe it's so much looser
Yeah.
in for like social reasons. It's so like the stewardess was just like, "How old are you?" And I was like, "I'm 15," and she's like, "Okay." And she gave me a beer. I don't remember what beer it was. It wasn't like a super good one. And then we get to Rome. First night, me and all the other students and the teachers we go out to dinner, and I remember everyone's going around ordering. They order the food, and the waiter goes around ordering drinks, and I was the first one to be like, I want a beer.
Yeah.
I don't know what you have. Just bring me
Beer.
anything. I don't know. I'm a teenager. I don't know about beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first beer I bought legally was as soon as I turned 21. I went and got a Fat Tire. New Belgium Fat Tires.
Decent beer. They changed their recipe recently. I've not tried
Oh,
it.
really?
It does not apparently taste the same.
That's no good.
Yeah,
I always liked it before.
I did too, but I've not
Haven't
tried,
had them in a long time, though.
not tried
so
their new recipe. But yeah,
Maybe we'll try it.
I didn't have a beer on my 21st.
Oh, yeah, you worked.
Well, I worked and then I had liquor.
Yeah, you went to... Yeah.
My 21st birthday, I was working.
I mean, I also had liquor.
I was a dishwasher at the time, and the bartender, the place I worked at, midnight rolled around and we're washing, and he knew it was my birthday.
Nice.
And he came back with a shot glass full of liquid, and he was like, "This is called a blackout. Happy birthday."
Uh-oh.
I don't know what it was. It was tasty, though. And then I went to Strider's house, and we drank rum and cokes until like 3 a.m.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, my 21st birthday was crazy. That's all I remember. And I threw up and had a lot to drink. And I didn't actually spend that much money.
I remember your 21st birthday. I remember I spent $140 that night.
Yeah, I know
that.
that. Most people were just buying me stuff.
Yeah.
And me and Tristan
It was a very good night. It was
basically
fun.
got drunk. Me and Tristan got drunk before we met you guys.
I remember that.
Because Carlos
Good old Carlos.
kept giving me shots of
Shout
tequila.
out. Yeah.
And this other random lady bought me a shot of tequila.
I remember that. Yeah.
And I was like, I can't say no to this.
Yeah.
It's my 21st.
I remember that night. I remember that me and Bill were taking turns buying each other whiskeys throughout the entire night. I remember we went through bar crawl downtown, ended up at J-Bo's,
Yep.
ended up at our house.
Yep.
Because we were sharing a room at the time.
Yep.
And I remember playing Mario Kart, and maybe it was you, probably you, throwing up on the ground.
Yeah, that was me.
I think someone else threw up somewhere else.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of liquids going around.
Yeah.
It
was a fun night.
I
That
do
was
remember
a good
when
night.
I get really drunk, I get way too generous with tips. I want to be the nice guy and everything. And I
do the
do
same
remember,
thing,
like, I think I tipped $16 on a $4 fucking
I've done
tab.
that shit before. Yeah. I try nowadays to like reel myself down. I want to be generous to
Yeah.
the bartender, but I also don't want to like make myself go bankrupt from fucking tipping.
But, woo, I got a good buzz going on. It's been a while I've had a straight up beer buzz.
It's the same.
It's
Yeah.
a different feeling.
I drink on a regular basis every day, but I don't often drink enough to actually start getting a buzz.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
But this time it happened.
I'm
It's happening.
feeling good right now.
Anyways, I don't think we have much else to say and don't want to keep this going on too long.
Beer.
Beer's good.
It's good. It's
let us know.
important to history.
It is. Yeah.
And we like drinking it.
Indeed we do.
Just as the Mesopotamians did.
Just like the Mesopotamians.
We're civilized.
Something like that.
Those fucking Romans drinking wine.
Anyways, we will see you for the next episode of the Odd Drunk Podcast. Be sure to follow us at Instagram at Odd Drunk Pod if you like us and you want to see our pictures as I go along with episodes.
It's
and
a
episode
good,
updates.
It's a good Instagram account. You should definitely follow.
Yeah,
a lot of
I try to post a
weird
lot.
shit on there.
Oh yeah, lots of weird, wacky shit. And we're gonna be getting into more weird shit because we are the Odd Drunk Podcast, so that's a
Yeah.
staple around here. Anyways, we see you next week for whatever we end up doing. But I think I know what we're gonna do, right? Because
We
I'm
don't.
gonna be out of town.
We definitely don't make it up as we go.
Do you want me to say it, or do you want me not?
Let's
You
not
want to
say
leave it a mystery?
It's a surprise. You got to tune in.
It's always a surprise.
Next week to find out. Yeah.
Yeah, just tune in.
You got to
Anyways,
follow. You got to like. You got to do whatever you can possibly.
if you
do.
really like it, leave us a download
Yeah.
so you can listen to us offline.
But I promise it's going to be a good one next week.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can promise that. And what else? I feel like I'm missing some. Oh yeah, leave us a rating or review on your preferred platform of choice.
Yeah.
Also, a later episode we might do this year is me fucking around with spammers and scam accounts that are trying to scam me of money to promote my podcast, and it's pretty fucking funny. I messed with this guy for a while, and then he threatened to take our podcast down from Apple. Hasn't happened yet.
Yep.
Which is great. Anyways, we are on Apple Podcasts.
My favorite scam I've been getting recently is I get voicemails of people going, someone is trying to authorize a payment on your Amazon account. I'm like, Amazon doesn't send messages.
No. They'll send you an email.
Yeah.
Or they'll send
Sometimes they'll email you, but then like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's fun. I get that a lot.
But yeah, that might be a new episode, me messing
Yeah.
around with scammers. And yeah, we got a lot of good ideas for this year. Gonna try to keep it fresh, keep things new. And if you've been listening for a while, I want to thank you guys for listening and for staying as a fan and a follower. And any new listeners, anyone listening right now,
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
this isn't a good episode to start out on.
I think it's a good episode.
Or maybe it is. It's a good introduction into the drunk portion of our podcast.
Yeah, we got pretty swifty on this one.
Anyways, we'll see you next week. Keep it real.
This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The Odd Drunk Podcast recommends you follow their Instagram and join their Facebook group for more fun content. To visit all of our current streaming and social media platforms, visit the link tree in the description. If you enjoy the show, we would be appreciated it if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The Odd Drunk Podcast would like to remind you to drink responsibly and not to drink and drive. Okay, Colton, you can roll the outro now.